Hello and welcome to episode 69 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Host Howard Kravitz. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. We have a great show planned as we're going to be talking about the fantastic stakes-laden late pick 5 at Saratoga on Saturday. It's Jim Dandy Day at the Spa. Please make sure if you're watching the show live or as a replay, make sure you hit that subscribe button right there on the bottom right side of the screen. And then please hit the notification bell so you know when new content arises. Also, pound that like button. Hit that thumbs up button as many times as you can to tell YouTube that there's a lot of interest in this show and in this live stream tonight. You can reach me on Twitter, of course, at HKravitz. You can see that on the name tag. And on the scroll on the bottom, you'll see my email address, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Again, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Few quick administrative items. As I mentioned through my email list and on my show this week, I'm going on a very exciting, well-needed vacation to California tomorrow, Friday morning. So I will be out of town Friday morning through late Tuesday night. So there will be no shows, no videos after today for several days. The next live show I will have will be Wednesday. Again, next Wednesday night will be a Pick 5 at the Spa show at its regularly, actually it's going to be probably at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which has been the regular time for my Wednesday night shows recently. I will send out some tweets to confirm that as well, possibly send out an email. But again, it's looking like the next show will be Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a Pick 5 at the Spa show. And then our regularly scheduled flagship show will be a week from today at this time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, covering a Saturday late Pick 5 for the following weekend. Not sure what we'll be covering as of yet. I did want to bring up one new aspect to my main page. Just wanted to show you. A lot of people think, Howard, you must be making zillions of dollars on this show. Ladies and gentlemen, full disclosure, I am making zero, zilch, nothing. Working on these live streams and doing this YouTube channel. You have to have 1,000 subscribers to start making money on YouTube. So just to let everyone know, I have put a donate page. You see on the there's a button on the right side of the screen. I'm pointing it right now, and that's through PayPal. So if you'd like to make a donation to the channel, perhaps you hit a nice Pick 5, or there's a horse that I give out that you cashed on and you want to make a little donation, or you like the guests on the show, or just anything in general, I'd really appreciate any donation you'd like to give. It's through PayPal, so you do need to have a PayPal account. You can see it there on the right side of the screen as a donate button. I'd greatly appreciate any amount. It's very simple. If you do not have a PayPal account, it takes literally 2 or 3 minutes to set one up. So you now have the ability to make a donation of any size, any increment you'd like on the HHH Racing Podcast main page there on YouTube. Of course, you can also sign up for my race day blog through Patreon as well. We have a lot of people joining the show. Let me get to some quick comments before I bring on our guests. We have Ralph. Ralph, thanks for joining the show tonight. We've got Daryl, ready to rock and roll. Joe Solito. Joe, what a day. Applause. Finishing second in the horse hour, the horse players happy hour. Joe, congratulations. Great job today. I saw that. Daryl's going to support the game. Greatly appreciate Daryl, any donation you or anyone else makes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, enough with the self-grandizing. Let's get on to the reason why we're here tonight, and that is to talk about the Pick 5. Let me just take the comments off the screen here. All right. We are here to handicap the late Pick 5 Saturday at Saratoga, and I have two fantastic guests that are going to help us do that tonight. They both have been on the show before, actually. One was on a little over 2 months ago, and another was one of my earlier guests when I was doing Zoom calls back in the pre-StreamYard sort of ghetto tech days. But I'd like to welcome on the show my wonderful viewers, Len Wilshik from Toronto and Pete Visco. Len and Pete, how you guys doing tonight?
Doing well, thank you.
Great. Thanks for having me again, Howard.
No problem. Of course, they both have their matching glasses. I think they discussed. I almost put on my glasses, which would be sort of fun. But no, we'll just go with two people. Len and Pete have some great handicap opinions. They are experienced handicappers, and we're going to be going through roundtable style the pick five sequence at Saratoga. As I'm go ahead and pick up the picks, Pete, give me your general impressions, and then Len, go ahead and follow up on Pete's answer. But Pete, how have you been doing at Saratoga, and your general impressions of the meet so far?
I feel like it's been good and bad. I mean, I think it's just been a little bit of a cold streak in New York in general, but I always like Saratoga. The racing is always good. If you catch it on the right day, you're getting the deep fields. The speed winning on the turf, going slow, is a little bit out of what I like, because I do tend to lean to closers sometimes to a fault. So that hasn't been the best. But again, I've had some good days, some bad days, like any other meet. So no complaints. You just take it one day at a time, see how it goes.
Len, I know you mainly play New York. Your opinions of the meet so far?
Saratoga is very challenging. I do keep close track of what's going on in New York, but I'm finding the Belmont data is not helping me very much at Saratoga. It seems to be almost a new world out there. The weather has been iffy, so it kind of disrupts things. I think today's a perfect example of that. It started off fast and then turned sloppy mid-card, so that kind of messes up things as well. I like New York racing, and I continue to follow it, but it's very challenging right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question. The weather is always a little bit shaky up there. I have two main takes briefly about Saratoga. I've had an up and down meet so far. Frankly, I've not hit as many pick fives as I've wanted. I had a streak earlier where I hit 3 out of 4 days. Last 3 days I've not. However, again, if your opinions are good, you can still get out for the day. For example, I was 4 out of 5 today, but I had a 8-1 over, I believe, a 13-1 in a nice exacta in an allowance race today, and hit a try also. So that got me out for the day. So again, if you don't hit that pick five, hopefully you do have some good opinions within the sequence. The other take, gentlemen, that I have, other than the turf races driving me crazy as usual because they've been walking, is Luis Saez. I believe he's still the leading rider after today. His aggression, guys, has been fantastic. I don't know why guys are not as aggressive as Saez is, but I believe he's beating the Irad brothers as of right now. Got a feeling that might not be the way at the end of the meet, but Luis Saez, is that a jockey, Pete, that you've been paying attention to?
Yeah, it's funny. He's not usually one of my favorites, but I agree with the aggressiveness, because one thing I've seen paying attention to more New York, maybe during the week and tournaments and such, where I'm watching a lot more of the races, I am shocked sometimes at how unaggressive that some of these riders are. And a lot of them are the top riders. And it sort of bugs you. And it, like anything else, if you're throwing tickets away, you start to maybe dislike some people a little bit quicker than you normally would. But no, I do like Saez for that respect, where, at least you generally know he's going to give it a shot. And he's going to get out there and try and take the race, which is, I think, all you can ask for. Just get me in the race and don't just sit back into like a 50 half and do absolutely nothing and then run backwards at the end.
Yeah, I had a line. I'll let you expound on that in a minute. But I had a really, by the way, if you did not see the PDJF show that I did on Monday, please watch that show. I think it was episode 67, I'd like to say. Might have been 66, but you can find it on my YouTube channel. I had former jockey Jerry LaSala, who had over 1,000 wins in the Chicago area. And PT basically said the same thing, that, the best jockeys put their horses always in a good position. And these guys that are 7 lengths out of the lead going 50 to the half is just, I don't understand it. Len, is there a jockey that you really like or has impressed you so far at the meet at Saratoga?
Well, I'm a huge fan of the Ortiz brothers, Irad and Jose. It's almost impossible to leave them out of anything in New York. I find they're there all
Yeah.
the time. They have tremendous judgment. One race in particular today, Jose actually got left at the gate. I don't know if you saw that race, and this was on an off track, and made up stupendous amount of ground and just missed winning the race altogether. He's remarkably talented.
Yeah, they're both really good. I will just say one thing, and I'm not one of those jockey haters. Anyone who's seen this show knows that I've said a million times that I've never been on top of a 1,000-pound animal going 35 miles per hour. These guys have literally life-changing decisions to make every day. But some of the moves that Irad has been making on the turf, especially, he made a particular one on the dirt, I think over the weekend, where he's just trying to create holes that are not there and just bumping people out of the way. I don't know if he got days for his move on, I believe it was last Saturday or Sunday, but Irad, I just want to say, is way too good a rider and way too intelligent to continue to make these sort of risky, create holes and bump people out of the way. I just like to see him tone down that a little bit. But Len, other than that, I completely agree. They are both outstanding riders. I actually prefer Irad on the turf and Jose on the dirt, just slightly a little more. But obviously, they both can win in both places. Gentlemen, let's go ahead and jump into this pick five sequence. It is going to, let me go ahead and go to the PPs here. As you can see on the screen, it's going to start in race 7, ladies and gentlemen, and it starts at approximately 4:29 Eastern Standard Time. There are 3 graded stakes within the sequence. Of course, the grade 1 and then 2 grade 2s. It's an outstanding sequence with a mix of races that, frankly, I think you can go very deep in some and really not so deep in others. And we're going to be discussing that right now. So as folks, as you see on the screen, you'll see our picks. Now, this is the first time that Pete and Len have seen all the picks together, and you can see that we have some similarities and some differences in this first race. So let's jump into the first race. Pete, I'll have you go first. It's a mile inner turf, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. It's an allowance race, non-winners of one other than, and you are going to go with the 2 on top, and that'd be Invincible Gal for Graham Motion and Johnny V.
Yeah, I just sort of the first thing that draws your eye is the blinkers on and the first time Lasix, which generally I don't like, that combination, just because it feels like maybe you're reaching a little bit or the trainer's reaching a little bit. But with this horse, I just felt like she has a nice amount of back class. The race 2 back was just solid, and I really liked that. And then I remember having her in her last race. And she just, obviously, if you could see on the screen, she just broke terrible, was way behind, and still made up a nice amount of ground. But I just like the class. I thought she'd be the favorite, actually, when I was handicapping without the odds. I just think if the blinkers help, and I like the addition of Velasquez, because if you look back when Johnny V had her the first couple times he rode her, he got her a little closer to the pace. So if he can get her a little closer, maybe the blinkers help with that, then I think she could be in a real nice position to sort of jump on these, and then the back class will show at that point.
Yeah, the last race, the top end that Navratilova won, actually cashed a nice late pick 5 for me that day at Churchill. It was sort of a merry-go-round race. It was not easy to close, and she did close nicely. She was probably further back than perhaps Ortiz wanted. So the blinkers angle is very interesting, and also gets Lasix as well. So that'll be interesting to see if that has any effect whatsoever. A few people in the chat have been asking about the weather. The weather is supposed to be fantastic the next few days. It's going to be cooler. It's going to be sunny. I would guess, Pete, though, that it's not going to be firm. It's probably more on the good side, but I don't think it's going to be too wet. I don't know if you took that factor into your handicapping or not for Saturday.
No, I sort of looked at the weather and assumed, you seem to assume good these days there, but I just sort of handicapped it as closer to firm probably than good. But, I feel like if it's in the good to firm, it might not be as bad. And there's only a couple horses I would probably maybe switch if it did come up a little softer. But I didn't expect it to be sort of bogged down or is too slow or anything. So I just sort of handicapped it straight, I think.
Sure, and I'll let you talk about one more horse here, Pete, and then we'll get opinion of Len. The 8 Love and Thunder. By the way, folks, and I'm assuming Len and Pete, this is true for you. We did not have the morning lines before we handicapped, which I always thought is actually, I enjoy doing that. It's sort of, I don't know about you two, but it's sort of fun to see when the morning lines finally pop up through, whatever betting tool you use, to see, if the morning line was about what you thought. Love and Thunder, to me, and this is just my opinion, Pete, I don't know if you agree, a bit of an underlay in the morning line. 2-1 seems a little bit low, in my opinion. What's your overall view of Love and Thunder?
No, I agree. I thought, I mean, she's definitely logical, and I mean, on figures and just on form, she definitely fits. And I mean, Brown and Ortiz combination is always, you can never go wrong with those, even if Brown had been a little cold and maybe he's heating up a little bit. But it just everything about the horse screams that it fits in this company. It fits figure wise, it fits form wise. But yeah, the 2-1 was a little bit unexpected. Like I said, I thought Invincible Gal was going to actually be the favorite. So when I saw this, I was actually a little upset that I had this horse as my. So
I hear you.
What you talked about was handicapping without the odds. I think it's good because you don't get swayed by the favorites.
Yeah.
But it's also bad because you almost were looking at a horse and go, I might like this horse if I would have noticed it at
Of
maybe
course.
10 or opposite. So I think it can have a double-edged sword a little bit when you're looking. But I mean, I don't have to go into too much here. Just a solid horse, Brown and Ortiz, and
Yeah.
has been good. I mean, there's not really too much beyond that. And 2 back, it looked like it had a pretty rough trip. So
Sure.
I
Very,
feel like it fits.
very logical. I'm a little concerned about the frequent layoffs. I mean, ran once in, debut, then didn't run again for 6 months, ran at Ascot last summer, then didn't run until April, now is off again. I don't know if this horse is ouchy or Chad Brown's just trying to figure her out. I don't know. Just something to bring up, but obviously this horse can win. Len, you and I both have the 6 Secret Time on top. So, Len, tell Pete why he is wrong and we are right about this race, Secret Time.
Okay. Well, to begin with, she has very, very competitive speed figures if you go back a couple of races. In fact, back in Florida, she ran in a grade 3 at odds of 66-1 and got an 85 buyer. She was only beaten, I think, about 4.5 lengths in that race, which suggests to me that she certainly would fit here. But I think the thing she's also a 1 mile specialist. Most of her races have been at 1 mile, so she should be adept at that distance by now, I would think. The primary thing that attracted me to this horse is Danny Gargan. I don't have formulated data, but I can see from the bottom of the form that he's very, very good with new acquisitions. I think it says 35%. He's got 20% with blinkers on. This horse is getting blinkers, I believe, and he's winning 25% at the Saratoga meeting, which means this horse should move up under his tutelage, I would think.
Sorry to interrupt you, Len, there, but if you see on the screen, folks, this is the last 5 years off a trainer switch. Again, this is not a new claim. This is a trainer switch, and he is very good. 24% in the last 5 years, 51% of the money with a positive ROI 204. So, Len, you're absolutely right. Just to point out, and I like the horse also, he is coming off of Arnold Delacour, who's a pretty darn good trainer. So
Yeah.
I just want to mention that. But go ahead.
No,
Anything else with Secret Time you like or you want to mention?
No, that pretty much does it.
Yeah, I'll just add to Len. Listen, the 2 can win, the 8 can win. I mean, I'm 6-8-2 in this race. I like Gaffleone on this horse. I think this horse could be a little more aggressive, there's not a lot of early speed in this race, and we've already talked ad nauseum about the speed situation. And frankly, this particular race, ladies and gentlemen, in my opinion, the early pace is very murky. So I like the blinkers on. I like Gaffleone. I also like some of the bullet works. You take a look at the bottom there. Bullet work in May, bullet work in June. This horse is feeling very good. I'm hoping that Secret Time shows a little more speed. And also, I think will be a little better price because it's not a Chad. So I'm always trying to beat Chads when the value is there. Len, I'll let you finish our conversation in this race. You have the 1. Rivendell, who neither one of us, I don't believe, Pete or myself, we do not have in the top 3. What did you like at Rivendell, who's going to be a price 12-1 morning line?
Well, it's first of all, it's a lemon drop kid. I'm big on those for turf breeding. I recognize the horse has already shown that. I think there's only two primary early speed horses in the race. Riverdale stretching out, right? And from the one
Yes.
hole, I think he's going to. She is it a he? She will go.
These are she's, yeah,
She will
females.
go. And
Yeah.
the only other horse I thought with the early speed based on the time form numbers is C'est Moi. So without that horse, I think Riverdale's got a chance to lead all the way. And also, Beaumont's going very well right now, so I think that will help also.
Yeah, I full disclosure, and again, I'm not going to talk about my A, B's, and C's, everyone. However, if you do subscribe to my race day blog, I actually already sent it out about an hour ago because I'm going to be out of town. So if you do subscribe to the race day blog, you already have my A's, B's, and C's selections for all these races. I do have the one as a B though, Len. So even though the one is not one of my top three choices, I agree. The one is sneaky to me a little bit in here, mainly because of the pace factor. Junior is not really a send guy, but I don't think he has much of a choice from the inside. I think this horse might be going. And the big question, of course, is the distance, though. I'm not sure this horse wants to go a mile, even though she's bred to do it. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I have, to let everyone know, 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 7 horses as A's or B's in this race. I think this is a complete spread race. I know that the two who Pete likes on top is 3-1 morning line, and the 8 is 2-1 morning line. I don't think they have to win at all. I mean, I could be wrong, of course. I don't know. To me, this is a big spread race. Please let me let us know what you think there on the right side of the screen in the live chat. We have a lot of people watching tonight. Greatly appreciate. Is this a race you're going to try to go skinny in, or would you spread? For me, it's a spread race for sure. Let's go ahead, gentlemen, to the next race, and Len, we're going to have you talk about this race first as I go ahead and switch some screens. Let me get our picks up on the screen, and you'll see some similarities, gentlemen, on the screen for our picks. I'm not 100% sure it's that cut and dry, but folks, you're dealing with expert handicappers here on the HHH Racing Podcast. And by the way, we did not talk about our picks at all, like I said, ladies and gentlemen. So these are purely our picks without talking as a group.
This might be a first.
This
might be a first, Howard, for you. I don't think I've ever seen that on your show where we have all the same 3.
I don't think so. They are in slightly different order, but I think you're probably right about that. This is the grade 1, ladies and gentlemen, and it's a solid grade 1. It is a sprint. They're going 6 furlongs on the dirt. It is the Alfred G. Vanderbilt, $350,000 on the line. The sprint division to me is very inconsistent and murky. I think we're still trying to find that sprint horse that's going to be the favorite in the Breeders' Cup at Del Mar in November. Maybe it's going to be a horse coming out of here. Len, I'm going to let you go first. You have a horse that Pete and I certainly believe is in the mix. We have this horse second. You have Special Reserve, 92 morning line for Michael Maker and Joel Rosario from the outside on top.
Yeah, I think this is a fantastic claim, obviously. He claimed his horse at 40,000, and you can see almost immediately the buyer numbers shot up, right? So he's doing something right with this horse. The numbers are very competitive, but the thing that appeals to me most is at 6 furlongs, there are only seems to be two main speeds. Strike Power, I think, was the other one, but he's a habitual quitter, and I figure Special Reserve will be sitting in the catbird seat, as they call it, just waiting for that to happen. He's going to have first run at him. He's got Rosario, which is always a big asset. And I guess the biggest challenge is this is a big class race relative to some of these other horses in the race, like Miss Travis Alex and Whitmore and so on. So can he handle the race in class? I think maybe at 6 furlongs and given the pace scenario, I think he's got a good shot.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you said. This horse is super duper sharp, and I love outside posts in these races. A lot of people think that's something analogous where you don't want to be wide. I totally agree with you, Len. I think you read this very well. There's no reason why this horse shouldn't just sit a fantastic trip and go by. Pete, we have a horse that Len has second, and I made a statement today on the Horse Player Happy Hour show, and I'm going to stick by it. In my opinion, right now, at this very moment, and it's not by a lot, I really believe that Mischievous Alex is the best sprinter in the country right now. I think he's very sharp. Pete, I'm going to let you talk about the two, who is 2-1 for Staffy Joseph and Irad.
No, I agree 100%. And I mean, I think if nothing else, I think he's now doing what he wants to do. I think the going into the Met Mile was a bit of a stretch. It was worth a shot just to see because he had handled a mile before. But I think he's getting back to doing what he does. And I mean, just based on form, based on figures, based on just pure talent, and then having Irad and Safi, I think this horse can easily be one of the best. I mean, again, it's hard to define them until they run against each other, but I agree with you. I think this is maybe the top one, and hopefully this is the one to showcase it. I was actually a little disappointed at the 2-1. I was hoping he would maybe get overlooked a little bit off the loss, but I don't think there's anyone in here that sort of jumps out that would have taken the favoritism from him, unfortunately. But I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I think what attracts me most to this horse, Pete, on Saturday is the turn back. I don't think this horse wants any part of a mile. That Carter, forget about the time, because that track was super duper slow. That was the day of the Wood when Bourbonic won in like, what was it? I think he finished the race in like 2 minutes and 45 seconds or something. But anyway, I'm being facetious, of course.
Yeah.
But that was an unbelievable effort, and he was really good before that. I love the turn back. I think this horse can sit behind the speed and go by. He just needs to break and get the right trip. We both have, by the way, there are some others in this race. Before we talk about other horses in this race, let's talk about the old boy. Whitmore to me, I'll tell you what, I'm always wrong about this horse, guys. I don't know about you. Every time I think he's not going to win, he wins. Sometimes I bet him, he doesn't get the job done. The job that Ron Moquette has done with this horse as an 8-year-old is just absolutely fantastic. All this horse does is run. Two for three at Saratoga. We both have this horse in the mix. Len, what's your opinion of Whitmore? I know you have this horse third. Is there a chance that you could just blow by them in the stretch?
I don't have a lot to say about Whitmore, but he is a grade 1 caliber horse. He's very consistent, and that's worth something. And he's got a very good winning record at the 6 furlong distance.
Pete, anything to add with Whitmore?
No, he's just one of those horses that you have to love if you're a horse racing fan, and you don't want to leave him off your ticket because when he does beat you, it stinks, just like in the Breeders' Cup. I mean, it was one of those where he always has a shot, and especially if the pace does, if Special Reserve, say, does get out and sort of heats up the pace a bit, then obviously Whitmore can close with the best of them. So even when he doesn't look like he should win, it's hard to leave him off at 6 furlongs, especially.
Yeah, he can definitely win. I will say I have this horse, by the way, as a B, which I'm going to admit, folks, is probably a mistake. If there's a horse that's pretty low odds and you're wishy-washy, for an ABC ticket, for those of you who play ABCs, it really should be an A or a C. You're really wasting a little bit of money if you have a lower price horse that you're wishy-washy with as a B. Just let folks know, play ABCs. So I might downgrade this horse to a C. I just think there's others that are more talented. That's my general opinion. Let's talk about one other horse, guys. The interesting thing about this race to me, and Len, I'll let you comment first about what I have to say here. There's not a big difference between a lot of the buyer numbers for these horses, but it just feels to me like the 2 and 9 are just classier animals. Is that how you saw this? Because neither one of us have Frenzy Fire in the top 3, and all this horse does is run as well and has figs that fit.
I agree that the 2 and the 9 are classier horses. I want to point out that on June the 4th, that win was very bias assisted, in my opinion. It was Early Speed on the Rail was doing very well that day. And then he came back off that race to lose at 2-5, which I think is somewhat discouraging at that level. So this is a big challenge for him, I think, today.
I think so. I mean, he's not trying to beat Flagstaff and Chateau and Mind Control. This is just a totally different situation. I guess you probably don't have too much to add to that, Pete. But I love this horse in general. I just don't like him on Saturday.
No, it's just one of those where it's another one where I think if any of the horses won, it wouldn't shock you. There was, when you're trying to nitpick between horses that are relatively even, I know you like the math stats that I come up with sometimes, but there was
Sure.
one where Kelly Breen is 0 for 11 wins in grade ones, including 3 with Firenze Fire. So when you're nitpicking between relatively even horses, I sort of sometimes fish for something that'll just lean me towards one or the other, and that was enough. And the price to say, he generally prefers Belmont. There's a few knocks against him, so if he wins, good for him. If he doesn't, oh well.
Not to play, not to be argumentative or contrarian, but just want to mention really the 2 and the 6 are the only horses that are really grade 1, type
Yeah.
animals in terms
Yeah.
of the class they've been running consistently. So I'm not sure. I mean, this is a grade 1, but I've seen better grade 1s, I guess you could say.
Oh,
The other
sure.
thing, and if anyone knows this for sure, I believe Lexingtonian is actually racing in the Bing Crosby at Del Mar coming up or this weekend. I'm not sure when it is. I believe Lexingtonian is going to be scratched out of the race Saturday. If anyone knows that for sure, let me know. If that's true, I don't like that as much. I don't love the rail for Mischievous Alex. I know people are going to say, well, it's just one slot over. It might matter a little bit. I would still obviously love this horse, but maybe 2% less than I would have if Lexingtonian was in there. So we'll see. We have a few people that have some comments. Let me go back to the comments. Wow, a lot of active people in the chat. Really appreciate it. Let me see. Horsey Dave just mentioned about IRAD. I totally agree with you there. IRAD's got to be, more careful with his rides. Horsey Dave also mentioned that Whitmore is. I'm not sure if that means out of 6 races, Dave, but Whitmore obviously can run well off the layoffs or not off off the layoff. Frenzy, we got another stat for Frenzy Fire. And again, Pete, by the way, sorry for we can't see your face here.
No, that's fine.
Frenzy Fire 4 for 5 on cutbacks. Okay, listen. He's interesting. I have Frenzy Fire as a C, by the way, everyone. He's my only C in the race. And Dave said yes, 5 out of 6, just to clarify that comment there. So great stats from our viewers. This is why I love to have these shows. We got a lot of people watching tonight. Gentlemen, let's move on to the next race. I'm going to put the banner up first. There's the banner so our guests can see what everyone else has here. I'm going to go first. Ladies and gentlemen, the feature race, I guess the feature race of the day, even though it's the grade 2, it's probably the one that's being talked about the most because it's for 3-year-olds restricted. 1/8 on the dirt. It's the grade 2. Jim Dandy, the main local prep for the Travers next month. 600,000 on the line. Listen, I don't have to talk too much about the exploits of the 1-2 morning line favorite, Essential Quality. I think most people, if not everyone, would agree this is the best distance dirt 3-year-old in the country right now. 6 for 7 lifetime. Only loss came in the Derby when he lost by a length the Troubled Trip. Had a very nice win in the Belmont against an extremely game Hot Rod Charlie. The only thing I'll say about Essential Quality, well, let me say this first. If Essential Quality is, I'm going to put a number. I'm going to say if he's 80% or better, he wins this race. I don't know about you guys. This is my lone A, obviously. I'm not saying anything that most people wouldn't think. There's something about this race. I don't know. Maybe it's Saratoga being the graveyard of favorites or whatever. I don't know. This is just a prep. I think this horse is better going longer. Not that he can't win in a 1/8. There's not a lot of speed in this race. Something tells me this is going to be a very close finish, guys. I'm not saying Essential Quality is going to lose, but I'm going to be very surprised if he wins by like 4 or 5 lengths. I just don't see it. I see them, just letting this horse run along mid-pack, making a big run late, and probably getting there. But I don't know. I just have a bizarre feeling that Essential Quality is not some lead pipe cinch in this race. The other horse that I'm let me just go through the whole field quickly. You got Dr. Jack from the inside, who looks too slow, but is very lightly raced for Pletcher. Masca Parade, a horse that I had on my race day blog at 8-1 morning line in the Ohio Derby. Had a very nice win beating King Fury and Keep Me in Mind. He's an up and comer for Al Stall. You have Wayburn at 6-1, who looks a little bit light on the buyers right now for Jimmy Jerkins. Bred very well, though. Keep Me in Mind, a horse I've been totally against all year long. Just hasn't really progressed. However, did run well last time in the Ohio Derby. And then you have Risk Taking on the outside for Chad Brown. A horse I really liked in the Wood, was extremely disappointing in that race, and really has been disappointing a lot in his last two, but you're going to get a big price for Chad Brown. The other horse I'll mention, I'll let my two guests talk. I am very interested in Wayburn here. Probably not on the win end, but there's a few things I like. Number one, this horse is bred to go long. Obviously, Pioneer of the Nile, out of an AP Indy mare, excuse me. My opinion of this horse, watching him from last year to this year, this is a big, lumbering type that looks to me like he just needs to mature and grow up physically. I love the time off that Jerkins has given this horse. He's working bullets now. There's not a lot of speed in this race. Gentlemen, I have a feeling this horse is going to lead with Irad. He's going to slow it down. The only other horse to me that will put a little bit of pressure might be the two Masca Parade, but something tells me Wayburn's going to run a huge race tomorrow. I know, Len, you agree with that. You've got Wayburn on top to upset the Jim Dandy. Len, why don't you expound more on Wayburn?
Yeah, I do. It's obviously a tough challenge, but I see him wire to wire. Quite honestly, I think he's the lone speed in this race. He's got a 107 early time form rating. You might say he's a little light on the buyers, but I think he's a rising star, to be honest. And he almost beat Mandaloon in the Haskell, I believe.
Yes.
And
that was in the Pegasus. That was the prep.
Sorry. In the
that
Pegasus,
was the prep for the Haskell, yeah.
Right. Sorry.
In Monmouth, yeah.
And of course, Mandaloon came back and just got nosed by Hot Rod Charlie and Haskell, right? So he belongs with these kind of horses, as far as I'm concerned. I don't think he's hugely outclassed. Also, I'm wondering about Essential Quality being primed for this race. Is this a prep for the Travers, so on and so forth? I don't know. So, but I think Wayburn is going the right direction. I think he's being well managed by Jerkins, and I think he will show his colors on Saturday.
Len, I've got a good question for you, and Pete, I'm going to ask you the same question in a minute. The second choice in this race morning line is Masca Parade 4-1. You also have Keep Me in Mind at the same odds as Wayburn. Len, in your opinion, is Masca Parade going to be the second choice, or do you think some of the wise guy money will go to Wayburn, and Wayburn might actually be the second choice?
Before I saw these morning line odds, I assumed that Wayburn would be second choice. I'm surprised to see it at 6-1.
Pete, what's your opinion on the odds for this race?
The only thing I could think why Wayburn would be longer is that people may think that he just doesn't win, and he does sort of lumber, but he doesn't necessarily hold.
Yeah.
So I could see where people would say, well, Masca Parade is the fresh blood and has some gaudy races, so maybe would get bet down just based on that. But
why don't you go ahead and talk about Masca Parade? You have this horse in second. I think can absolutely be a factor in this race.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know if it was almost a default second because we just don't know how talented yet. And the last two races obviously were impressive. They weren't obviously the caliber of Essential Quality, but I do like the running style. So there isn't a ton of speed, yes, but if say Wayburn does sort of go on the lead alone, Masca Parade seems like it could just sit right off and get first run. Yeah. And like you were talking about with Essential Quality, the one thing that always makes it seem like he could be upset is his sort of grinding style. He doesn't wow you necessarily. So maybe Masca Parade jumps on Wayburn and somehow Essential Quality has a little bit too much to do. And that's sort of his shot to sort of take this race over.
Yeah, I think there's two keys to this race. I mean, number one, is Dr. Jack going to be sent? Because it's Pletcher in the rail and it's Jose Ortiz. If the one goes, I actually think that's going to help Essential Quality quite a bit. So I'm curious to see if Jose sends the one. And if the one doesn't go, gentlemen, the other key to this race to me is how much resistance will Wayburn give Masquerade? If, let's say, Wayburn clears guys and then Masquerade is sitting right off, at some point they're going to engage, right? So if Wayburn is able to hold off Masquerade relatively easily, he might be able to wire the field like Len wants, and I think is possible. But if Masquerade sort of goes by Wayburn relatively easily, I think that would make it a lot harder for Essential Quality. So, listen, all this might not matter. Essential Quality just might blow them away easily. I just have a gut feeling it's going to be a close race. That's all I'm going to say. I just think it's going to be close to the end. I can see it 3 across the track, guys, in the final 16th, and then Essential Quality's, pun intended, quality just overtakes them. Let's just very quickly mention the other 2 horses. We do have time. If I were to create a value line, Len, I'd put Keep Me in Mind like 20 to 1. I don't understand this 6 to 1 at all. I know he got a 97 buyer last time. Am I just completely wrong, Len, or does this horse have a chance tomorrow? Or Saturday, excuse me.
To be honest with you, the only reason I picked him third is because of switch to Rosario. I think he moves that horse up.
That's a very good point. That's a valid point. And by the way, I did read an article. Diodoro said that Cohen didn't do anything wrong. They're just trying to switch things up, which is code for they don't like the way Cohen has ridden the horse. They just didn't want to throw him under the bus. But listen, Cohen rides for Diodoro all the time. I'm not trying to create a story that's not there. But you do make a good point. That is a pretty big jockey switch. Pete, what do you think? Keep Me in Mind. Does he have any chance at all? Again, what do you think of that morning line? I think he's 20 to 1 to win this race.
Yeah, no, I don't know if I'd go that high, but I sort of agree with Len. The reason why I moved him up myself was I like the jockey switch. I'm not a Cohen fan at all. Every time I seem to have him, I seem to think his ride kills me, and maybe that's just sour grapes. But I like the switch, even though Rosario sometimes has a tendency to not get his horses involved sometimes. But I trust that maybe he will in this case. And then I just looked at those workouts, and for a stone closer, a normal stone closer who you wouldn't think of as quick, those last few workouts have just been excellent. And you just look at it and go, maybe somehow something's turning this horse around, and maybe now it'll have a shot. And again, it's going to have to take, you would generally think it would take more of a hot pace, which doesn't seem like would be the case here. But if he stays closer, if the pace is a little bit quick and he can get a good run, then I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I think listen, I've been wrong about races at Saratoga this meet at times, like really wrong. Horses that I thought would be right off the pace are like 12 off. So I don't know, but to me, unless the horse is just a complete form reversal, I shouldn't say form reversal, but unless this horse is just really, really trending forward, I don't see it. And the last horse we didn't even mention is a horse that I've bet a bunch of times this year, to be honest. You're going to get Chad Brown at a price. Your opinions, Len, of this horse? Do you give this horse any chance at all in this race? Risk taking. Len.
To be honest with you, I didn't look at this one very closely. I guess he's had some troubled starts. Looking at the chart right now, broke out, bobbled at the start. Maybe that's compromised his chances. He obviously looked like he had potential in the Withers, so he fits off of that race. But and now he's coming off of a bit of a layoff. But Brown is pretty good with layoffs. So yeah, that's about as much as I can say about it.
Pete?
No, I don't like him. I'm not usually afraid of Chad Brown on the dirt, and this horse, it's got to be one of those ones. If he beats you, and you just rip your tickets up, because I just don't see it.
I mean, even if he runs back to his good races, that's an 89. I mean, that's not getting the job done. He's gonna have to run an analogous race. We all agree that risk taking really has no chance in this race. A solid rendition of the Jim Dandy. You're gonna get Essential Quality as a huge favorite. We'll talk about ticket construction at the end here, guys. Let's go on to the next race. This is a competitive race. This is race 10 I'm just go ahead and switching the picks there. There's our picks on the screen. Again, that's the first time our guests have seen each other's picks there. Race 10. And I'm going to let Pete go first here. This is the grade 2 Bowling Green. It's on the turf. They're going on the inner turf, excuse me. Going a mile and 3/8. It is 3 turns. The purse is 250,000, and it just seems like these distance turf American horses are just trading off, beating each other, unless your name is domestic spending. Pete, you are going with a horse that neither Len or myself has in the top 3. So
Yes.
this is very interesting. Please talk about the number 7 for Bill Mott and Junior Alvarado. Nice combination there. Moon over Miami.
Well, it's funny. So this is one of those where this is a really even field. Like you said, there's no world beaters. There's no one who sticks out. So it seems like it almost seems like any of them could win this race. I mean, I looked at this horse. This is the one that I felt like as a 4-year-old has just sort of steadily improved. You know, buyers aren't really jumping up, but I like incremental. It's 96, 97 is great in this company. Seems to be moving up, always is right there, runs his race every time. And it's just more of a, again, this was one where the 7-2 I didn't like. I was hoping for a little higher, but this was one that I just feel like's been knocking on the door. And one of these times it's just going to open it. And without having any of the big boys in it, I felt like this is the kind of race where that can happen. Although it's funny, I tend to lean sometimes on the trainer stats, and I had a really negative stat for Bill Mott, which was
Hit it. Let's hear it.
A 3 out of 59 wins in grade 2 turf routes, which isn't that, and it's not that granular, but it's like,
and in grade 1s, he's probably 20%, right? Grade 3s, he's 30%. But grade 2, he can't
I
win
know
grade 2s.
it's a weird one, but when
That
I
is
looked at it,
interesting.
I was like,
That's interesting.
it probably means nothing. But it's again, like I said, I'm sometimes trying to differentiate, especially in a race like this that's so even. But I don't know. This was just one that I feel like works a trip out every time. I like Alvarado. I just feel like it's in a good position because none of the other ones are standouts, and I feel like I'd love it if the odds even floated up because some of the other ones are bigger names that they've seen, that people have seen before.
Daryl has a good point there on the bottom of the screen. He likes the 7 also, by the way. And Mott's birthday, I think, was today, actually. Or was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday or today, actually. I'll have to look into that. I thought his birthday might have been yesterday. If anyone knows for sure, let me know. But yes, Daryl, Mott's won 30 straight years on his birthday or some crazy number. I think you have some very interesting points. I'll just give you my quick take before I'll let you move on about moving over Miami. I'm not going to say he's impossible. I am as a C, by the way, Pete, on my ABC ticket. To me, I'm looking for someone that might jump up. The question is, can this horse jump up? Because I don't think if he's running his races as before, he can win. I mean, he can't beat Phantom Currency, Churn and Burn. And then the last race, the Man of War, where Channel Cat won, that was a very fast pace, and he still couldn't get there. So
Yeah.
he's going to have to run a race that he has not run before. Can he do it? Absolutely. I would not put it against it. He's just going to have to run a race, to me, that he hasn't run before. Agree or disagree with that, Pete?
No, I totally agree. I'm sort of taking a leap of faith that maybe it's in there somewhere and it just hasn't come out yet. And again, that's why when I was handicapping without the odds, I was hoping for maybe more in the 6 to 7 range, where I thought that maybe that the price would reflect that.
Fair enough. And you have another horse. This is a great thing about horse racing, guys, and getting opinions from different people, because Pete's top 2, neither Len nor myself have in our top 3 at all. You're going with Michael Maker, pretty good guy from what I heard from long distance turf races, with the old veteran Crossborder you have in second, Pete.
Yeah, this is another one that I just like this horse, and I've sort of played him in the past, and he's another one. He runs his race almost every time. I mean, 2 back, he wasn't great, but it was against a much better field, and he's just right there. And I felt like the way this race shapes out, where I think he can get the trip and he can get first run, depending on if the channel horses sort of get on the lead together, then I think Crossborder has a shot to jump on them. Saez was picked up last time, and this horse was aggressive, and Mega City sort of just, I think if I remember correctly, Mega City just got away at a pretty large price. Am I
Yeah,
remembering that? Yeah.
I'm gonna have some self-inflicted pain because this race is exactly the kind of race
Yeah.
that we're talking about that drives us absolutely crazy. Mega City was like 5,000 to 1 in this race, 42 to 1.
Yep.
And there was a break points the 4, by the way, who's in this race also back here. And your horse Cross Border is the 3. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward a little bit. And they absolutely walked on the lead. And I'll let you take it from here, Pete, to watch the last bit of this race here.
Well, this was one where when I blade Cross Border, I was expecting him to be either on the lead or very close to it and not whatever 9-10 lengths behind. And so, but I thought the run that he gave into, what wasn't the quickest pace in the world, but I just thought he gave a good run. And again, I don't think this field is top heavy. So I think anyone can sort of step up and win it. And I just like his form, and I like how he's just always in the mix, and he tries. And I think, am I correct? I guess you can click on it. If Mega City, didn't he come back and run? Did he run back again and run well?
I'll show that in a second. I just want to make the point. This horse all the way at barely in the screen there is Breakpoint, who is running in this race also on Saturday. I just want to mention that. Let's go back and take a look at the next race. Mega City came back and finished in a race at Colonial with a 92 buyer finish.
I'm thinking of somebody else then, but
no problem.
Still,
but boy, that race knocked a lot of people out that day. Len, let's go to your selections. You have the 3 in this race, and I'm very interested in this horse, by the way. Also, I have Breakpoint second. What did you like about Breakpoint, Len?
Well, firstly, it's second race off a long layoff. Second time in United States, stretching out to a more favorable distance. I think working very well. I think the thing that intrigued me in particular was the fact that in his debut, like it was an unknown quantity at that point in time, but they still made him 6-5, which I thought was quite impressive, I guess, because they had high expectations for this horse. It's Chad Brown, obviously, which is huge. My only slight reservation, and you've mentioned this before, Howard, as well, is Castellano is a bit lukewarm right now. So I'm not sure if that's going to help the horse's prospects.
I would say more like Luke Cold or freezing. I think that's being pretty generous. I know. I agree with you, Len. I mean, what has happened to Castellano? I don't understand. I thought he was one of the best turf fighters in the country at one point. I don't know what this story is. Len, to me and everyone else, and I have this horse do I have his horse second? I gotta look at my own picks here, for God's sakes. Yeah, I have his horse second. Here's my feeling, guys. This horse to me feels a little bit like Moon Over Miami, in the sense that I'm looking for a horse that can step up. This is only a 4-year-old, and I do want to watch the start of the race that we just watched. This is the Mega City race, but you didn't watch the start. Watch the start of the 4 here, ladies and gentlemen, because Breakpoint, again, this is his first start in the country, did not break very well. You see he's right there, just underneath the arrow. Broke slow, but it wasn't just that. I thought he was a little bit rank. I think this horse has a lot more speed, early speed, than he showed. You see the jock really takes a big hold here, Castellano, and he starts pulling. I'm not sure we're going to see it here. You see right there, he's like turning his head. He's a little bit rank. You see right there, he's just goofy. He's all over the place. It looks like he wants to go. Again, I'm not a horse whisperer. That's all I just want to show you. Just look at the hold he's got on this horse. I mean, he's got a monster hold on this horse. I think that Breakpoint is going to show more speed than he showed last time. And again, I don't know who he was beating in Chile, but a point that I made on the Race Day blog, if Chad Brown didn't think this horse was that good, do you think he'd really put him in this grade 2? I think he knows he's got something there. Whether this horse is going to do it on Saturday, I have absolutely no idea. He's got to step up quite a bit. But I also want to mention the works on the dirt, a 4.9-2. How about a 50.9-3 on the dirt? So again, maybe I'm reading way too much into this. I just think Breakpoint is very interesting. Maybe not to win, but to come in second. I believe, Len, do you have Channel Maker? Len, you have Channel Maker.
I have
in third. Why don't you talk about Channel Maker a little bit, because that's my top pick, and then I'll let you discuss the one also, Len.
Okay, well, Channel Maker, I don't have much to say about. He's certainly the class of the field. coming off a long layoff, which is a question mark. And my biggest question mark, and I was an asset for a previous horse I talked about, Rosario arrived, and this horse, Rosario leaves. So I find that kind of awkward. And I don't think he's got another mount in this race either. So they're going back to Franco, who's a fine rider, but I just find it curious that Rosario is not the rider on this horse this time.
That is a very interesting point. I'm not sure what's going on with that jockey switch. I don't like to play, jockey gymnastics too much. I have Channel Maker on top mainly because of what Jim Pilar just mentioned. And I put it on the chat. I mean, all we see are wire jobs, and I just don't see a lot of speed in this race. If Channel Maker, and it's a big if at this point, but if he can get back to any of those races from last fall, I mean, he's going to win this race. I thought he ran well enough when he went to Saudi Arabia. The Maidan race, he's losing to Mishriff, Chronogenesis, and Loves Only You. I mean, that's a Breeders' Cup race, basically. And these are not Breeders' Cup horses. So if Mott has his horse ready, I see no reason why he can win. And Len, let me play a little bit of devil's advocate. Franco was on this horse quite a bit. He actually was always on this horse in the United States. Rosario only rode him, Len, when he was overseas. So I just want to make that point that Franco knows this horse. I'm a little bit concerned that this horse has not come back, as a 7-year-old as good as he was last year. I think it's a very valid point. But if he's ready, I see no reason why this horse cannot wire the field. One reason why he might not, though, Len, is Channel Cat, who I think might show some speed from the rail, and you've got him in second. And before you talk about this horse, we had a very good comment, and I apologize. It was someone, I don't recall who it was, mentioning that the English channels tend to do well if the turf is a little bit soft, which it might be on Saturday. What did you like about Channel Cat, Len?
Well, the very consistent, very competitive speed ratings. And at this particular distance, in 1 3/8, he's 3 for 5 at this exact distance with the second and the third. So 5 out of 5 in the money at this distance. I thought that was impressive enough. But, it's a very competitive field. Speaking of jockeys who are lukewarm or colder, if you want to put it that way, Velasquez, his numbers are not even as good as Castellano's numbers right now.
It's Saratoga. I think he won the Derby and the Oaks, but I know what you mean, Len.
I know what you're saying.
I know, yeah. At Saratoga, he's struggling, but someone mentioned me on Twitter, sort of gave me a little bit of a hard time because I mentioned that I liked Velasquez, and he said, "Oh, he's horrible at Saratoga." Saratoga is the toughest meet in the country, maybe in the world. I don't think Velasquez overnight became a bad rider. Listen, sometimes you have trouble winning. So I hear what you're saying. Jockeys get into hot and cold streaks, but let me just put it to you this way, Len. Would you agree that you're not going to discount a horse because Velasquez is on him? Would you agree with that?
I agree with that, but it's at the back of my mind at the same time.
That's a valid point. Again, there are other horses. I mean, Rock Emperor, who to me has been a huge disappointment. Now, he's been a money burner too. I bet him maybe he's gonna, win for Rosario and Chad Brown. Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Red Knight, I don't think can win this race at all, but he's a salty veteran. Sham Rocket, we didn't even mention. Maybe he's improving. He's only a 4-year-old also, and it's Ortiz and Pletcher. I mean, here's my general feeling, guys. Then we're gonna move on. Let me just ask you one question. To me, it's Channel Maker, or could be just a lot of other horses. Pete, agree or disagree?
Agree. I think.
Lionel, how do you feel about that statement?
Well, having already said that I like Breakout, I agree with you, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think, listen, to me, I think you have to take a little bit of a stand here. Either you got a big-time spread or you got to take a stand. I'm taking a stand with mainly Channel Maker, and I think Breakpoint is interesting. I am using a bunch of others underneath, but really is extreme backups. A very interesting rendition of the Grade 2 Bowling Green. I don't think there are any Breeders' Cup turf threats at Del Mar coming out of this race, unless Channel Maker runs back to a race from last year, but a great betting race for sure. Let's go ahead to the last race of the day. We go from 3 graded races to typical, Saratoga or these big meets. A very difficult claiming route race. How difficult is it? I've got 3 picks on the screen. Len has none of them in his top 3, and vice versa. And this is absolutely wide open. Pete's got a horse that only I have in third, and Len doesn't have an. Listen, this is a very, very difficult race. Len, I'm gonna let you go ahead first, sir, in a minute after I just give the conditions. They're going a mile 16th on the turf, 25 claimers. This is for 3-year-olds and up, males. And Len, you have the number 6, Bird's Eye View, a horse that I actually know well because the trainer is Mike Deeney. And if you don't know who Mike Deeney is, Mike Deeney's a guy who had a string at Arlington for a long time. He's a Midwestern guy. He doesn't race there anymore for obvious reasons because the quality of the racing is not very good and the purses are absolutely awful. This horse has back numbers. What do you like about the 6, Bird's Eye View?
Well, I like his buyer numbers. I think this is where he fits in New York relative to where he's raced before. Second race off a layoff, I think he should move forward. And the thing I really liked, actually, is if you look back at his last 3 starts, all 3 of those winners were repeat winners the next time out. So I thought that those races were pretty good races based on that.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to mention for people, this is just for people that aren't familiar with the racing form, Len, I try to educate as well. You see on the right side of the screen there, when you after the odds, you see Mega City is in italicized there. That means he came back and won. And you see me and Mr. C also came back and won. So Len, that's a very valid point. Go ahead.
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about Len? Let me play devil's advocate. What about the 3 for 39? How does that sit with you?
A very good point. I will concede that point.
Okay, and since I'm a math teacher, ladies and gentlemen, that is 1 out of every 13 races. Listen, maybe the 14th time is the charm. Listen, I'm just giving you a hard time, Len. This is an absolutely wide open race. I wouldn't, take away anything. I thought there's a very good comment on the screen. I just want to mention, and kudos to Charles. Charles, thanks for joining the show because I haven't seen your name too often. Steve Rushing is the agent for Castellano and IRAD. So that's a very good point, Charles. Perhaps that's why Castellano is struggling. But to be honest, Charles, I've seen Castellano be on good horses too when IRAD wasn't in the mix and still not win. So but that's a very interesting point. Kudos to you for making that point about the possible agent situation. Len, you've got the 10 horse. Let me go to him in second. And that would be Sharp Prospect for probably not a coincidence, Joe Sharp.
Yeah, I made that observation myself. What's more appropriate, right? Sharp Prospect trained by Joe Sharp.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot to say here either, but the consistent speed figures. It's questionable why the horse is in for 25,000. Clearly a class drop, but is that a bad sign? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have this horse in the top 3, but Len, it might make you feel better or worse, depending on your opinion of my handicapping. This is my 4th A, Len. So actually, a Sharp Prospect is my 4th choice in this race, just to let everyone know. And then, Len, I'll let you close it out, and then we'll get to you, Pete, here, and then we'll talk about our ticket construction as we're coming up at 1 hour on the show. You have the number 9, who's going to be a price, Len, counteroffer.
Not a lot to say about this one either, other than its buyer numbers are going the right direction, and Rob Atras has got the horse, and you have to respect him as a trainer.
Absolutely. He's 25% at the meet. Pete, I did not know what to do about the 1. I'll explain my opinions on the 1 in a minute. You got Vittori Kin, Brazilian bred, for Wayne Potts, who's 0 for 11 at Saratoga. I had a very solid meet at Aqueduct and Belmont, though. And you get Jose Ortiz and the rail and a big jockey switch. Did I just ruin everything for you? Did I just explain it all?
That's less I have to say. That's beautiful. No, I liked. I do like the jockey change. I mean, Ortiz was on him his last win, and that was also at this same company, and then he stepped up. So I like the fact that sometimes we get bogged down with the last couple races. I think you might say this sometimes, but you get bogged down with maybe the last couple races on the form. But when you go back and look for one where they're sort of more at the company we're currently looking at, then I like the impressive run there. I also had a pot stat where he's 4 out of 12 wins with a 50% class drop on the turf, and actually 23 for 108 with the 50% class drop overall. So I just sort
Wow,
of like the
that's
drop. Yeah, so I like the drop and picking up Ortiz. And if it runs that race 3 back, it just fits. And it's 6-1 in this field. I'll take Ortiz at 6-1. Had a nice workout last time. I just think this is a pretty even field where you can make a case for a lot of them, and you could poke holes in pretty much every one of them. So
yeah. I've got him. I've got him third. My only issue, and I'm glad you brought up those stats. I appreciate the fact because I didn't have a chance to look up those stats as I'm literally finishing packing in about 20 minutes after the show is over. I don't like 8-year-olds dropping down. Something about they're maybe it's just a drop in pop. The other thing that concerned me a little bit, I don't know if I'm sure you saw this, Pete, because I know you're a sharp guy. Raced on May 21st, right? No published works at all in over
Yeah.
a month until June
Yeah.
30th, and then not another published work for another 3 weeks. But, this is an 8-year-old turf horse. I'm sure, I don't expect to see bullets, even though he did get a bullet. But the work pattern concerned me, Pete. Did you notice that, and how do you feel about that?
no, I did, and as an old man myself, I just figured maybe he's a little tired, and they don't want to wear him out. They're saving him for
Yeah.
the race day. I mean, I think we could all appreciate that. No, I think that's
He
valid.
did
And
work.
again,
He did. I don't want. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to mention
No.
though he did. He was working steadily in the spring though, because if you look, I looked. I
Yeah.
wanted to see how his works compared to when he was actually racing. And at the fairgrounds and at Belmont, he was actually working somewhat steadily in between the races. I just want to bring that up. But go ahead.
No, I agree with you 100%, and that was definitely a concern. But again, there wasn't a horse that I looked at in this race that I didn't have concerns with. So it was one of those where, are there enough positives that I can be comfortable with? And the fact that he had run well at this company has the good enough figures to fit and is picking up Ortiz, and the pot stats were pretty good. I'm with you on the drop downs. I generally am afraid of those because, like, why? But
Yeah.
maybe
That
you're just
stat
take-
you that
yeah.
stat you gave is pretty darn impressive though for
yeah.
pots.
So we'll see.
You've got the three. So I want to move this along. You've got the
Sure.
three for is it second? Sorry, third, and I have the 3 for second. Morocco for Safi and our friend Castellano, who's probably going to win 4 races on Saturday, and tell us all just to shut up. But go ahead about
it's
Morocco.
It's okay if he wins the ones when we have him. Then
Absolutely.
we're not going to be too upset with this
Why don't
one.
you talk about Morocco, and then I'll talk about my top pick, and we'll get to the ticket construction.
Okay. This is another one too where I just thought, sort of dropping down maybe a little conspicuous with the drop down, but I like Joseph he's good off a layoff on a turf and claiming another obscure stat. He was 29% off a 60 to 120 day layoff on the turf in claiming races. So I just look at that as like he knows how to handle horses at this level. So it's different than running sort of consistent, better horses. I just like Joseph in general. And I like just the fact that I think this horse's best races couldn't win this race and maybe they were under Maker, but it's not like Safi Joseph it's not like going from Maker to some bum. He's going to Joseph, who's a pretty consistent and high level trainer. So I like when I can look back on the form and see that a horse has the races to beat this field. And if they can do that, then I'm okay with it.
And I just want to quickly talk about another salty old veteran. I have on top, I got to admit, it's a guess. I have 4 A's in this race. Hieroglyphics. There's a few reasons I like this horse. First of all, I think he might get lost a little bit in the odds, number one. Number two, he's got back numbers that would destroy this field. Again, is he that same, horse? I don't know. I like Dominic Schettino. I think he's a bit underrated. He's only had 2 starters at this meet. He run with 1. And I've learned to like Santana on the turf. Everyone sees this guy is only riding for, Asmussen and a dirt rider. He can win on the turf. And he's ridden for a Maker a lot more and more. So I think he's a bit of an underrated turf rider. Again, he needs the trip. The other thing that he has that some of these don't is he looks like he's got a little bit of tactical speed. The pace situation is extremely murky in this race, though. But
Nothing.
anyway, I just want to mention the 8 as interesting play in this race.
Hey
All right,
Howard,
let's.
I was just saying real quick for you
Yeah.
on your top choice. My one obscure stat I did find on him.
Wait, if it's good, you can say it. If it's bad, Pete, we're gonna move on. Which
No,
one is
okay,
it?
you better move on then.
No,
'cause
no, go ahead.
it's-
Go ahead. Let's hear it.
Trust me, Scatino, 0 for 31 wins the last 3 years in mid-level claimers on turf. So
Go to the bank, hieroglyphics. Put the mortgage on this horse.
Do with that what you may. But
One for 32.
Hey, how many times this year have I had I know I've looked at it and had a stat where it was a 0 and the 1 happened to be that day. So,
No,
anything
listen,
can happen.
I don't know if I'm going to downgrade because I hear that, but I might. I mean, I appreciate the stats. Again, usually I come up with a lot of stats. I apologize, everyone, because of my timing and my trip tomorrow. I haven't. I took a very deep dive into these, but I didn't have a chance to look at some stats. But I do appreciate you pointing that out.
Sure.
Before we get to, and again, not everyone was here at the beginning of the show, so before I show you my picks, just very briefly for everyone, if you would allow me to do so. Give me 1 second here. I do want to show everyone something new that I have on my homepage on YouTube. If you look there on the right side of the screen, folks, I now have a donate button. If you feel a desire at any time to throw a little tip our way, whether you like the picks people give, you hit a pick 5, you just want to support the channel, all you have to do is hit that donate button there on the right side of the screen. It goes to PayPal. And I would appreciate any donation you'd like to give. $1, $100 would be great. No, but anything to support the channel, I'd greatly appreciate it. Full disclosure, I make zero money on this YouTube channel. You have to have 1,000 subscribers. I'm very happy that I have 422. Started with 11. So in 6 months, it's gone up to 422. I'm very proud of that. But again, please feel free to hit that donate button. I'd greatly appreciate it. Let's go ahead and get to my caveman ticket. And I'd like to have quickly your opinion as we wrap up the show. If you're listening, please hang tight. I'm just want to see any comments here. Sorry, I was looking at the comments. So there's my caveman ticket. It's a little bigger than normal, to be very honest with you. But we'll go with your opinion first. You have to take a stand somewhere. Again, I play ABC tickets, so this is not the ticket that I'm going to play Saturday. However, it's a more simplistic ticket. If I were to take a stand, it's probably no surprise. I would go with essential quality, and I would spread a lot, Len, in the first leg and the last leg. Is there another horse that you would single, or would you have another race or horse that you would sort of go skinny with?
Well, Jeff, very quickly, I guess one of my favorite selections for a Saturday is Secret Time in race 7. So that would cut it down substantially if we were going to single in that race.
So in the first leg, you like the 6 a lot, and you wouldn't go as deep in the first leg. Is that correct?
Correct.
Any other changes you would make with your ticket if you were playing a caveman? Just in general. You don't be too specific.
Oh, the last race you probably have to spread because you've already discussed how open a race that is and how many possibilities there are. And you've got it fairly narrow the rest of the time. So, yeah.
You're comfortable with, in the Vanderbilt, just going Mischievous Alex and Special Reserve, the 2-9?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Pete, your opinion of my either wonderful or horrific caveman ticket that we see on the screen?
No, I think I'm sort of in a little bit of lockstep with you. I would obviously on an A ticket or even I would single essential quality just to try and go deeper in the other legs. Obviously, the first and fifth seem to be the two toughest, so I would probably go a little skinnier in leg 1 because I might go either 3 deep in leg 2 or maybe go a little bit deeper in leg 4. But I think mine would be pretty consistent with yours in terms of which ones are heavier and which ones are skinnier.
Yeah, I have to say this. Maybe it's just this turf bug at Saratoga. Of my ticket, I'd actually be most concerned about the 4th leg. I know I like Channel Maker. Breakpoint is a little bit of a guess. I do like the 1, but listen, there are 3 or 4 other horses: Moon Over Miami, Rock Emperor. If I had to make an adjustment, I'd probably go deeper in leg 4. and maybe like Len said, try to go a little skinnier in the first leg. And I've talked about this on this show a million times for everyone. Do not go deep in the first leg because you just want to be alive. It's a big mistake that people make. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not deep in the first leg because I just want to be alive. In fact, there's an argument, Len, for going skinny in the first leg, and then if you lose the first leg, you can come back with a pick four. Is that something that you like to do, Len, once in a while?
To be honest with you, before I started watching you, Howard, I never bet a pick five in my life. So this, but I'm onto it now. I won a pick five on your advice, so I'm keen now.
I was just gonna say you are on the show today, so apparently I'm not. You haven't gone broke with betting pick five. So listen, I tweeted this out, Len. Someone asked me, how do I do in pick fives? Full disclosure, I'm around like 25-30%. Full disclosure. Now, some people might look at that and say that's not very good. Listen, they are hard to hit. If you're hitting one of every four, one of every five pick fives, that's pretty good because when you hit, you should be making several $100s. If you're hitting a pick five and only making a small profit, you're probably not constructing your ticket correctly because I press up with my A's and B's. So when I hit pick fives, I usually hit them for more than once. I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just saying that you don't have to hit, a pick five half the time to make a profit on the year. I mean, you can hit one pick five for 4,000 and you might not hit a pick five the next 10 times and you're still up several $100s. So again, pick fives at these meets are especially difficult, but if you can construct your ticket correctly, you can really cash. Last question, Horsey, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I am about at the meet at Saratoga right now. I'm 23%. I had 3 out of 4 earlier in the meet. I've not hit one for a few days. Again, it goes up and down. Pete, I'm not going to ask you your rate. You probably don't even chart it, but what kind of horizontal plays do you like to make in general, Pete? And then we'll wrap up the show.
I like pick fives the best, and I'm with you where if you sort of get knocked out of the first leg. Unfortunately, lately I've been hitting the first. I've had a lot of losses in the last leg, so that doesn't help you as much if that's all you're playing is horizontals that day. So a lot of days I might just play a pick five or a couple pick fives at different tracks, and then, like you said, if I get knocked out, maybe I'll go to the 4. But when you start winning those races, then you almost get stuck. And I've been getting killed on that last leg. But I'm a pick five fan. If for no other reason that there's a lot of days where I don't have time to bet the whole card. So I like to have, my opinions. I like to do something with my opinions. And if you do a pick five, you're obviously covering a lot of the race. So yeah, I'm with you.
Jim, I really like your comment at the bottom because I was about to say that before I changed my opinion midstream. Listen, I like take stands. Me and Jonathan Kitchen, we sort of have the same type of betting personality. I hate the all button. I think if you don't have opinions, you shouldn't bet the sequence. I rather try to hit a sequence a few times rather than go spread all over the place. I agree with you, Jim. I could single Mischievous Alex, which is a little bit risky. But if I really think he's that good, I could single there and go deeper in leg 4. Jim, I might do that. If I do that, I might throw some bucks your way in a PayPal. But Jim, I totally agree with you. If there was another horse to single, for me, it would be Mischievous Alex. But Len made a good point in Special Reserve. I think Special Reserve is just awfully good right now on the inside there. Joe makes a comment, gentlemen, that obviously horizontal betting and contests, yes, completely different, Joe. I have to say, in terms of contests, and Len, do you play in any other? Have you ever played contests online? Have you gotten any of that, or you just like to play your bets within a race, within a track?
It's probably a reflection of maybe how cheap I am, but I only tend to play the free ones with the NHC free ones that qualify you for Las Vegas. But it's a lot of work to keep up with all those contests.
I have to say, I played some pick and first of all, I never played a contest till 3 years ago. Honest to God, I wasn't really aware of them. I just didn't play them. I wish I did. I got into pick and praise, which a lot of you know, which is sort of what happens on the happy hour horse player contest. I've got to say, for me, I've been most successful with live money contests. Where live money contests, you basically have a bankroll and you can play win, play show, exacta try, and doubles. You can't bet a horizontal bet usually. I like the live money contests. They are a little more pricey to buy into. But the pick and pray, the only problem with the pick and pray is you think a horse is going to be like a sneaky 10-1, and the horse goes off like 5-2, and you just don't get the value in the contest. Pete, what's your contest opinion before we go and close the show?
I love playing contests, and I agree with you. A lot of times I can't do the lives because you then have to be there. You have to be, present the whole time. But the pick and praise, I do a lot more pick and praise. And the problem with them is somebody will just hit that one bomb and it vaults them to the top, and you just have to play catch up. And like you said,
Yeah.
you obviously don't know that in advance, so you can't really. I actually like the live pick and not live pick and praise, the live ones where it's
Right.
not the bankroll, but you pick as you go, because then at least in the later races you can try and make up a gap if you do fall behind.
The problem with that is if you're behind, then people just start randomly playing 30-1 just to catch
But I
up.
think
And then
people.
it's
I
turned
think
into a
people
math
do that
contest and
anyway.
not a handicapping contest.
But I think that's what I think that's what it is a lot of times anyway, especially in the lower priced ones. Like anything, the lower price you get, you're getting the more people in. Where you see those where somebody plays the 3 in every race, and you're like, well, that's not handicapping. Obviously, they're just hoping to catch a bomb, and they do a lot of times.
Let me answer Horsey's Dave question, then we're going to wrap up the show. Horsey, I am not going to Saratoga this year. First of all, I wasn't sure what the COVID situation was going to be early in the year, and you have to plan way ahead for Saratoga, number one. Number two, the trip to Pebble Beach is going to take a small dent out of my pocket, so there's only so many trips I can take during the summer. And, however, for anyone who's interested or who might think about going, I am for sure 100%. I already have the hotel, and I will be getting the tickets. I will be at Keeneland for their fall opening day, their great Fall Stars Day. It's their October 8th to the 10th. It's when they have their big Breeders' Cup preview day races on opening weekend at Keeneland in the fall. I've only been to Keeneland one other time, so I will be at Keeneland in the fall, Horsey. But next year, I already promised to Paul Haller and a few other people, I'm going to make a verbal promise I will be at Saratoga next year. I don't know when. I don't know how. I'm waiting for free offers. You can send them to me. No, I'm happy to pay for it. I'll be going to Saratoga probably next summer. So that's the answer to that question. Len and Pete, it's been a great pleasure to have you guys on the show. It's going to be a very interesting late pick 5. I believe the weather's going to cooperate. I hope everyone cashes big. I'm going to let you guys off the show and then go ahead and finish off my own. But gentlemen, thanks for joining me tonight, and good luck with your pick 5s on Saturday. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Howard. Appreciate it.
All right, that was Len and Pete joining us on the show tonight. Applaud to them. They did a great job. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate. And if you guys want to, you can just stay on just the link there just a minute, guys, and I'll talk to you after the show as I have them in the green room, so to speak, in the background. You guys can't see them. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I am off to California in about what time is it? Oh, I got an early flight. About 8 hours? About 10 hours. About 10 hours, almost 11 hours. I will be in the air off to California. The next live show you will see is next Wednesday at, I believe it's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern, the standard time for Wednesday for Pick 5 at the Spa, and then the flagship show a week from tonight, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, covering a Pick 5 sequence at Saratoga. Actually, I'm not sure where it's going to be a week from this Saturday. Ladies and gentlemen, have a fantastic weekend. Good luck at Saratoga on Saturday, and I will see you next Wednesday. This has been Howard Kravitz, episode 69 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Good luck, take care, and good night.